Welcome to Guide to Survive. The world is a big, beautiful place, full of incredible and breathtaking sights and experiences. It's also doing everything it can to kill you, and so that's where this program fits in. Before you venture into the great outdoors, you need to learn about all of the terrifying and mystical creatures that lurk in the woods, knock on your window, and hide in your toilet. With this guide, you'll learn how to identify a would-be assailant, analyze its strengths and weaknesses, and deal with it effectively. By the end of your training, you'll be ready to take on any creep or cryptid that crosses your path. So here's to you and the great adventure that lies ahead. Let's begin.
Target analysis. Name: Warlock. Class: Parasapien, malevolent practitioner of magic. Habitat: everywhere. Lifespan: 70 years to several centuries, depending on craft mastery. Strengths: dark supernatural abilities. Weaknesses: magic and inferior human tendencies, such as sleeping, eating, and talking about their feelings. Overall threat level, 5 to 8. Behavior: Warlocks, malevolent men who have devoted themselves to study the darker side of the arcane arts, using its disturbing and powerful forces to their own ends. These sinister sorcerers differ from their colleagues in the mystic arts, witches and wizards, by only a few means. For example, wizards devote themselves more towards controlling the natural world, such as through alchemy, rejecting the temptations of the darker arts, preferring to focus on studies that can be put towards the progress of civilization while still maintaining a balance with nature. Often making their homes in largely populated areas, where an abundance of resources can be found through trade, etc., which can be put towards their experiments, while also gaining favour with the powers that be. Whereas witches have historically been more localised, preferring smaller communities or isolation over large bustling cities. They are of course also female, and as opposed to wizards, focus more on utilising the power already offered by nature, as well as the spiritual, such as herbalism and protective ward spells. There is also a grammatical difference. Whereas wizards and warlocks are considered separate, the term witch can be both malevolent and benevolent, though I know which one I prefer. Warlocks, the same as dark witches, are as mirror opposites to their counterparts. Dark witches will manipulate and grow the powers of nature and the spiritual for ill-intended purposes, just as a warlock will attempt to dominate and corrupt for theirs, lurking themselves away in isolated areas so that their work may be carried out undisturbed. Further to the similarities of these three, warlocks will also employ familiars to aid them throughout life. This familiar will be a source of protection and servitude to the warlock, such as the Mbunche, see previous Guide to Survive. It will not only guard the warlock's lair, but will be sent out to gather supplies and perform tasks, but will always remain close to its master, even when on long expeditions, such as attending a warlock's council. A warlock's council is a mysterious event. The subjects discussed, practices held, and intentions of such gatherings are as yet unknown. Mainly because I can no longer get a pass. Guess they're still upset about the last one I quote-unquote attended. Let this be a lesson, children. Never make fun of another man's lack of facial hair. Moving on. Despite employing a familiar, it is important to remember the purpose of the familiar is not just to protect a warlock, but also deal with any trespassers who may disrupt a warlock's work. As such, these magic wielders are not always such easy targets. In fact, it predominantly depends on their mastery of magic. The more masterful the warlock, the more dangerous they become. The same also applies to the individual's longevity. Whereas an apprentice will live for over the average human lifespan, if not furthering his studies, a master may live for several centuries. Death may come from a rival magic user, the overwhelming strain on a mortal body kept alive through magical means, or a disembodied brain in a jar who can't take a joke. Lastly, a Warlock's lair. Lairs desire strong magical connections, whether through dwelling near a source of natural power, or from a location where magic has been practiced consistently over a long period of time. However, a Warlock may make his home anywhere. While his power will increase in the proximity of a strong power source, his studies and experiments are not significantly restricted by location. Such non-powered locations are usually short-term for a Warlock, as he will move on when his work is done, resources have run dry, or has drawn too much negative attention to himself. In conclusion, Warlocks are truly devilish men, their lust for power driving them to dark scholarship and cruel experiments. From the isolation of their lairs, they plot their rise, tormenting any locals unfortunate enough to reside near to where these dark sorcerers make their homes. They are powerful, ambitious, brutal, right down to the gaping chasms where once dwelled their souls. They remain unseen, and yet they are everywhere. Stratagem. So, here's the scenario. While thoroughly enjoying your Guide to Survive studies, you come up with the brilliant idea of doing some field research, which, if it leads to unfortunate circumstances, cannot be legally brought back to me. So, after some digging, you find a location that has been known to be both a hotspot for paranormal activity, as well as a strong source for magical energy. And it's not far from your location. What luck! After arriving, you begin your research. Eventually it becomes clear that you've managed to uncover a Warlock's hideout. Well, not being one to half-ass anything, you decide to put your survival tactics to the test and take down this bargain bin Voldemort. Your plan of attack. Firstly, whistleblower. You've decided that the best course of action is to call for backup. Use your emergency contacts located in the Survival Guide Index and call for some reinforcements. Then just sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello?
Secondly, wild style. If you're in luck, there might be some large dangerous animals nearby. Safely lure them into the Warlock's lair and block up the entrance. Now, listen out for sounds of struggling from the Warlock. Once all has fallen silent, unblock the entrance, make sure the coast is clear, and enter the lair to rejoice in your victory. Thirdly, modern warfare. Gun up and go in guns blazing. I don't care what anyone says, there's no way in hell he can block them all. Fourthly, wizard fight. Harness your knowledge of the arcane and battle the Warlock. Magic versus magic. Purely a force of will and training in a supernatural collision. Also, try to film it if you can. That'll make a great keepsake, assuming you win. Fifthly, magical work. Now get inside his lair, take as much as you can, and bring it all back to your old friend Jar. I'll pay you well. Pop quiz. Question number 1. Do Warlocks only reside in locations with strong magical connections? Question number 2. Are Warlocks known to use familiars? Question number 3. Is it possible to defeat a Warlock without the use of magic? Question number 4. Will a Warlock ever abandon his lair? Question number 5. Did those Warlocks have it coming? Answers. Question number 1. Do Warlocks only reside in locations with strong magical connections? Answer, no. Whilst environments with strong magical connections are desired, Warlocks can and will make their homes just about anywhere. Question number 2. Are Warlocks known to use familiars? Answer: yes. Warlocks, the same as wizards and witches, will use familiars, though more for protection than any other purpose. Question number 3. Is it possible to defeat a Warlock without the use of magic? Answer: yes. But this is a difficult task, especially depending on the Warlock's mastery of magic. While an adept student may be bested through non-supernatural means, a master may not be. Question number 4. Will a Warlock ever abandon his lair? Answer: yes. Warlocks will move from one lair to another when they feel either they have drawn too much attention to themselves or generally have need of a different location. Question number 5. Did those Warlocks have it coming? Answer: yes. And don't you forget it. If you scored 0 to 1, then you've been bested by a geriatric edgelord. I can't even look at you. If you scored 2 to 3, then you might be alive, but you'll never attend another magic show for as long as you live. And if you scored 4 to 5, enchanting work! What wonderful wily whimsy worked waringly while whacking Warlocks. Conclusion. Excellent work. I'd say you're ready to get out there and face whatever challenges plot against you. And if you're not, then don't worry. You can rewatch these survival guides as much as you like. And they're non-refundable. I'm very proud of the progress you've made, and I know you're going to take the future in your stride. I've got a good feeling about you, Kill Jaden. Though I suppose you're dead now. Good luck, and don't die!